بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام را تلك آيات الكتاب المبين.
الله الله.
إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون.
الله.
نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله لمن الغافلين.
الله الله الله.
إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين.
الله 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 أكبر.
قال يا بني لا تقصص رؤياك على إخواتك فيكيدوا لك كيدا إن الشيطان للإنسان عدو مبين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم يا كريم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك بأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته وكم من عثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرط بي سوء حالي، وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي يا سيدي. فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي، فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك، أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك. فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما مستقيلا منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شدي وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي. يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته، أو تبعد من أدنيته، أو تشرد من آويته، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا، وبشكرك مادحا، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعا، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعا، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم، يا كريم يا رب. وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكثوه يسير بقاؤه، قصير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي، يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي، صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك، وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك، أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولو نادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي، فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك، أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك، أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه، أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه، أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه، أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربه، أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها، هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك، فباليقين يقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك، وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك. قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما: أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني، وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته أو إحسان فضلته أو بر نشرته أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفروه أو خطأ تستروه. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار، أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة وبخدمتك موصولة، وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على خدمتك جوارحي، واشدود على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك، والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبادرين وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأريد ومن كادني فكيد واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وأخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك. وجد لي بجودك واعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأقلني عثرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
يبلغ مدحه القائلون ولا يحصي نعماه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد والأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق، خلق الإنسان من علق. اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم، علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. صلوات. One of the distinctions of the Islamic faith in general, and especially the emphasis that we see in the Shia path of Islam, is about the value and importance of ilm and knowledge in human society. It is about the knowledge of religion as well as the knowledge of what is known as the secular world. Quran was the last revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there was a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not choose to send Surah Al-Fatiha as the beginning. The name of that surah is Fatiha. Al-Fatiha means the opening chapter. But yet He didn't send that. The first ayat to be revealed was from Surah Alaq. And there was a reason. It was in a way emphasizing the point that this is a religion and a faith which is based on the issue of knowledge. Iqra. The first word, read. Read in the name of your Lord who created the human being from one cloth. اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم. The Lord who taught you by the means of the pen. So you have the word اقرأ and the word al-qalam right in the first verses which were revealed. And when you look at the symbolism there, reading and writing are the means by which people acquire knowledge and spread knowledge. Interestingly, the second surah to be revealed after Surah Al-Alaq is the surah known as Surah Al-Qalam. So this symbolism is very powerful as far as, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala envisions for the last ummah. That it will be an ummah, which gives importance to knowledge and ilm. Our Prophet, is known as Madinatul Ilm. He is the city of the knowledge. Our first Imam is known as Bab Madinatul Ilm. He is the gate to the city of the knowledge. And if you look at Nahj al-Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, قِيمَةُ كُلِّ إِمْرِئٍ مَّا يُحْسِنُ. The value of every human being is dependent on the knowledge that he has. And this is where we come to realize that, for us, this issue of knowledge, seeking knowledge and spreading knowledge is very, very important. And tonight we have gathered to celebrate the birth anniversary of our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam. Who actually exemplifies this issue of knowledge and spreading the knowledge. If you look at the impact of our fifth Imam, and this is where you have to a little bit look at the historical background. That you have Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali, and then Imam Hassan, then Imam Hussein. And that's where the tragedy of Karbala took place. In appearance, it looked like Shia, path of Islam will end with Karbala. But it survived. And it survived in a way that nobody could even think about it. And so we see that after Karbala, those who were opposed to them, the Ahlul Bayt, they realized you cannot kill them. Because you can't do anything more than what they did in Karbala to Imam Hussein and his family. So that was a chapter which was closed. And they realized, okay, Shia path of Islam is going to be there. And on the other hand, when you look at the Imams who came after Karbala, Imam Zainul Abidin first, and then Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, and then his son Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. They basically took it upon themselves as the Imam of their time and the Hadi and guide to basically give a very clear and distinctive form to the school of Ahlul Bayt. And this process started with Imam Zainul Abidin. If you look at the written legacy that we have from him, Saif al-Sajjadiyya is one, or Risalatul Huquq is another one. And this tradition of, every Friday evening he would gather his students in Masjid al-Nabi and actually give sermons, which were copied down by his students. And then you see that was the initial, process where this Shia thought and practice was being very clearly defined for the community. Then we come to the time of the fifth Imam. And he basically greatly expanded this education process of Imam Zainul Abidin. And it's reached to the peak during the days of the sixth Imam, with the culmination of what is known as Fiqh Ja'fari, the Ja'fari school of laws in the Muslim world. And so we have to keep in mind that even what we have in form of theology and jurisprudence in the Shia Islam, yes, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq played a very important role, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir before him, and a process which was started by Imam Zainul Abidin. This is all the result of the sacrifice of Hussein ibn Ali in Karbala. This connection is not being, drawn by the people in that way, but this is important, that Karbala was also a way where this whole process started as far as educating the community is concerned. Let me just give you one narration from the sixth Imam where he talks about the contribution of Imam al-Baqir, his father. He says, كانت الشيعة قبل أن يكون أبو جعفر وهم لا يعرفون مناسك حجهم وحلالهم وحرامهم. He says, before my father, the Shia community was not very well informed and educated about their own, path of Islam. لا يعرفون مناسك حجهم. They did not know even the ways of doing things in Hajj. They didn't know that much about what is halal and what is haram. حتى كان أبو جعفر, until the time of Abu Ja'far, which is Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. ففتح لهم, he is the one who opened up this path for them. وبين لهم, and he clarified for them مناسك حجهم, the rituals of pilgrimage for them. وحلالهم وحرامهم, and what is halal for them, what is haram for them. حتى صار الناس يحتاجون إليهم, to the extent that the community, the Shia community, especially those who are close to the Imam, they reached to that level of knowledge that the masses started referring to them for guidance. من بعد ما كانوا يحتاجون إلى الناس, very much different from the previous situation where these common Shias would actually seek guidance from here and there. وهكذا يكون الأمر, and this was how the situation was. So our sixth Imam is actually now telling us very clearly that the Shia community basically found its roots in a way and the path to move forward with confidence with the teachings and the contribution of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam. And this brings me to something which we know very, every Shia child knows about it, but sometimes it is important to know the background of where this title Al-Baqir came from. Baqara, the word, basically means to dig out. Al-Baqir is someone who digs out something. And this was actually the title given to him, reflecting his contribution. He is known as Baqir Ulum al-Nabiyyin, somebody who dug out the knowledge and wisdom of the prophets. So he is inheritor of the legacy of the Anbiya and the Mursaleen, coming to our prophet, from our prophet to the Imams, one after another till the fifth Imam himself. He is the one who got the opportunity because of the sacrifice of Karbala, relatively more peaceful time for him to share the knowledge with the people. Not only the Shias, but also with the Sunnis and non-Shia as far as the Muslim world is concerned. But this title given to him, Al-Baqir, was actually predicted And this prediction comes from a narration of Jabir bin Abdullah Ansari, one of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in that narration, this title Al-Baqir is given to the fifth Imam long before his birth. You know, we have this issue, even if you look at any Sunni book about the fifth Imam, you will see Al-Baqir is his title. There is no dispute about it. This is unanimously accepted by the Shia and Sunni historians alike. Besides our own sources, Al-Kafi and others, you know, let me give you one narration from a Sunni source of Ibn Qutaybah Dainwari. He lived before Kulayni's time. So we are talking even before the time of Bukhari and Kulayni, the Shia and Sunni, you know, compilers of hadith. And he has a book known as Uyunul Akhbar. And there he quotes, he says, according to his chain of narration, he says, Akhbarana Jabir ibn Abdullah. He says, Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari narrates for us, Inna al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam qala, that the Nabi said to me, to Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari, Ya Jabir, innaka tu'ammir ba'da hatta yulad li mawludun. That, oh Jabir, you are going to live so long after me until somebody will be born from my descendants. Ismuhu ka ismi. His name will be like my name. I am called Muhammad, he will be called Muhammad. Yabqarul ilm baqra. He will dig out the knowledge the way it should be dug out. فَإِذَا لَقَيْتُهُ فَقْرَعْهُ مِنِّي السَّلَامِ. O Jabir, when you meet him, then convey my salam to him. You know how many generations we are talking about? Rasulullah, his daughter Fatima, and then Hussein, then Ali Zain al-Abidin, then we come to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. And if you look at it, in history, Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari is the longest, you know, living companion of the Prophet. And the Prophet actually, in one narration that we have from our sources, told him that when you do this, what I'm asking you to do, you should know that your death is now close to you. Means that will be towards the end of your time. You know, this is for those who have a problem with even believing that the Nabi knows anything about the future. No, he was not just like us. Or if I may, you know, say he was a human being like us, but we are not a Rasul like him. He had something that we don't have. And one was this access to what is known as ilm al-ghayb, about the future also. And so this is a Sunni narration from a source before Bukhari and before Kulayni. In our own books, we have different, you know, types of narration about this incident of Jabir bin Abdullah Ansari's conversation with Rasulullah. I would just like to present one that we have from Shaykh al-Saduq. Shaykh al-Saduq is a very prominent, reliable source of hadith for us. And in his book Al-Amali, he basically goes through his chain of narrations all the way to Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. And this is where this sixth Imam basically is now narrating this incident where he says that the Prophet once had a conversation with Jabir bin Abdullah Ansari, and he said, Ya Jabir, innaka satabqa hatta talqa waladi Muhammad bin Ali bin Hussein bin Ali bin Abi Talib. O Jabir bin Abdullah, you will live and be alive till you see my son Muhammad bin Ali bin Hussein bin Ali bin Abi Talib. Al-ma'ruf fi Tawrat bil Baqir. This is, we don't see it in the Sunni version of it. He says that the Prophet told Jabir that he is known in the earlier scriptures in Torah by the title of Bil Baqir. Al-Baqir is a title given to him by the Prophet. فَإِذَا لَقِيتَهُ فَقْرِئُهُ مِنِّ السَّلَامِ. O Jabir, when you meet him, convey my salam to him. And so now the sixth Imam is now connecting that to the actual event, because this is his time now. So he says, فَدَخَلَ جَابِرْ إِلَى عَلِي بْنِ الْحُسَيْنِ فَوَجَدَ مُحَمَّد بن Ali. He says, one day Jabir bin Abdullah Ansari came to visit the fourth Imam, Ali Zain al-Abidin, and he found a young child with him. فَقَالَ لَهُ يَا غُلَامِ. Jabir was looking, always, looking forward to see this child about whom the Prophet had predicted. So he looked at Imam Zain al-Abidin and realized that this is his son. So he looked at Imam, who was still very young. He said, "Aqbil, come towards me." And Imam Muhammad al-Baqir came. ثُمَّ قَالَ لَهُ أَدْبِرْ. Now go back. And he stepped back. And Jabir looked at his style of walking and he said, شَمَائِلُ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ. By the Lord of the Kaaba, this is the same style of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then he turned to Imam Zain al-Abidin and he says, who is he? You just want to make sure now. Already seen this style of walking, resembles Rasulullah. And he says, هذا ابني. This is my son. وصاحب الأمر بعدي محمد الباقر. He will be the person in charge after me. And his name is Muhammad al-Baqir. فقام جابر فوقع على قدميه يقبلهما. Jabir got up, now that he was 100% sure that this is the person. And he goes down to show respect, not just by kissing his hand. Actually, he went down on his feet. وَيَقُولُ نَفْسِي لِنَفْسِكَ الْفِدَاءِ يَبْنَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. He says, "O the son of Rasulullah, may my life be a sacrifice for you. اقبل سلام أبيك. Accept the salam of your father, Rasulullah. إن رسول الله يقرأ عليك السلام. Rasulullah conveyed the salams to you." According to the sixth Imam, he says, فَدَمَعَتْ عَيْنَ أَبِي جَعْفَرٍ. The fifth Imam, still young child, when he heard this, the Jabir is conveying the salam of Rasulullah to him, the tears of joy came out. ثُمَّ قَالَ. And Imam al-Baqir, still very young, says to Jabir, يَا جَابِرْ عَلَىٰ عَبِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ السَّلَامُ مَا دَامَتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. May salam be to my father Rasulullah as long as the heavens and the earth are there. وَعَلَيْكَ يَا جَابِرْ بِمَا بَلَّغْتَ السَّلَامِ. And salam on you also, on Jabir, for conveying the salam of my grandfather. Salawat. I saw a narration today, very interesting, that this was the unique fadilat of the fifth Imam. Nobody has that. Where Rasulullah, Hassan and Hussein were there in the presence of Rasul. He knew them. But there was no any other Imam where Rasulullah had conveyed his salam in that way. And so this was a unique fadilat and quality of the fifth Imam. Salawat. So this title, Al-Baqir, linked to the issue of spreading knowledge, comes from the Prophet. And therefore our ulama use this term where they say, Baqir ulumin nabiyyin, that he is the one who dug out the knowledge and wisdom of the prophets. So just to try to comprehend that. What does it mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the very first initial stages of human history, when there was this issue of Malaika and Adam. And Allah says to Malaika that I am going to make this human being, Adam, as my Khalifa on the earth. And the Malaika kind of had a, objection in a way, in a very polite manner. They said, oh Allah, نحن نقدس لك. We glorify you, we obey you totally. Whereas he as a human being has it from an earth, composition. The nature is such that jealousy will be there, anger would be there, greed will be there, and so he might, create chaos on the earth. So they were trying to say that, what is the basis of your judgment? And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? I want to, link with this issue of Baqir ulum in the knowledge of the prophets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, organized the contest between the angels and Adam. And then he showed him, resemblance of some of the anwar, nur, the light. And he asked the Malaika, do you know their names? Whom they refer to? And they said, we don't know. We know whatever you had taught us. And then Adam was told, and Adam basically gave the names. Allama Adam al-asma'a kullaha. So right from the very beginning, we see that knowledge is considered to be the basis of Allah preferring a human being over the angels and appointing him as the Khalifa. And so when we talk about Imam Muhammad al-Baqir as Baqir ulum al-Nabiyyin, you start from Adam. Adam who has been given the asma. Then you have Nuh alayhi salam. Then you come to Ibrahim alayhi salam, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we showed him the signs of our power and glory in the samawat and ard. Then you come to Musa alayhi salam, with the most comprehensive sharia and code of laws given in human history. He was the first one to receive that. And then you come to the time of Isa ibn Maryam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gave him knowledge. It was the knowledge by which he was able to cure the blind and the leper, and even bring the dead back to life. Then you go on to the time of our own Prophet, where he says, everything as far as the knowledge is concerned, from Adam to the last Prophet, was given to me. And then I was given things which were especially for myself. All that now is given gradually to Ali bin Abi Talib. Goes to Hassan, then Hussein, then Ali Zainul Abidin, and then it is the time of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, who gets the opportunity to spread that knowledge and wisdom for the Muslim world. Salawat Paranaik Para. Keeping that in mind, let me just, end with two sayings as a message from Imam Muhammad al-Baqir about knowledge. Number one, of course, he has many ahadiths, but this is just two for us. من أفتى الناس بغير علم ولا هدى من الله. If a person gives fatwa, religious rulings to people without having the knowledge and the qualification and guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لعنته ملائكة الرحمة وملائكة العذاب. The angels of mercy as well as the angels of punishment will curse that person. وَلَحِقُهُ وِزْرُ مَنْ عَمِلَ بِفُتْيَاهُ. And whatever wrong is done by the people by following his fatwa and his opinions, the sin will go on that person, because he was not qualified to give the fatwas. And if people start following him, then he becomes responsible for whatever wrong they are doing. And this is where we have to realize that, on the one hand, we say very clearly, seeking knowledge is a duty of every human being, in Islam especially. But we have to be very careful about it. Seek knowledge from those who know. not those بغير علم, who don't have knowledge. And on the other hand, once you have the knowledge, you share with others, but you don't give verdicts and fatwas if you are not qualified and certified to do that. This is very important these days. Because the means of, spreading our information, ideas about thought has become easy for every human being now. There was a time when this was not, the means of communication were not easily available. Now anyone can have any idea and they can just put it on their Facebook, Twitter, social media. And this is where we have to realize we have to be careful about what we are saying, what we are spreading. It is actually a common sense. That when we don't know something, we go to those who are qualified and who are knowledgeable about it. Yet we see that this common sense of people goes away when it comes to religion. In every other thing, they immediately will look for those who are qualified. Although we might have the ability to go and do the research about that issue, but we don't spend the time. We say, well, I'm not in this field, I don't want to do it. I'll go and get advice from somebody who knows that. And so it is very common. You might have somebody who is a nuclear scientist given Nobel Prize in his field, but when he wants to buy it, make a 3-piece suit for himself, what does he do? Does he go and buy the material and the needle and the thread and start stitching himself? No. Maybe 1 in a million scientists might have a hobby of stitching, but normally that's not what happens. He might be a Nobel Prize winner in his field, but when it comes to a simple thing, he wants 3-piece suit, he goes to whom? He goes to a tailor. Even that tailor might be not even a literate person, but he is good in what he's doing. And so this is very common. A merchant wants a house. He doesn't go and start building himself, he gets a contractor to do that. A doctor has a car, it's not working. You have this expensive car sometimes, sitting there on the curb line of the highway. He must be very, rich person. Doctor, lawyer, dentist, maybe. They don't know how to fix their car. They will wait for somebody to come and fix it. Even when you talk about religious field, you have a mujtahid or a marja taqleed. They are not feeling well. What do? They say, okay, let me go to Quran and Hadith. Of course, they will go to Mafatil to look for a dua, but before dua, you have to do dawa. Even a mujtahid and a marja, when they don't feel well, it's not their field, they go to the doctor to seek treatment for whatever illness that they would have. Yes, dua would be there, but dua has to come first. And the dua would be that, oh Allah, guide this doctor to treat me in the right way and give me the good medicine so that it helps me. And this is where we see, look at the example of what's going on in Qum, for example, at the moment. Unfortunately, this coronavirus, in Iran, it started from the city of Qum, a holy city. And what happened there? Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani was asked by some mu'mineen, what should we do? The first thing he says, go and refer and follow the instructions of the health professionals. Then he says, this is the amal if you want to do. Ayatollah Jafar Subhani, a prominent marja, theologian and a jurist in his own, right, in Qum, leads Zuhr and Asr prayers in Masjid Azam. In the last 2 days, there was no namaz jamaat. People will send a petition, why we don't have a namaz jamaat in a masjid? Well, it is health, association's instruction. You should not have large gathering in places unless it is very necessary. All the lectures in the theological colleges are closed. Even the general, schools are also closed. Even if it comes to the issue of, when you go to the haram of Hazrat Masuma, they're saying don't go and kiss or touch the zari of Hazrat Masuma inside the haram. Because it is one way by which, this virus can spread. And so this is where we see that, okay, you have to then follow those who are expert in that field. If the health, professionals are telling those people there that we might even have to close the haram. No more ziyarat. And even marja taqlid would have to listen to that. Why? Because you are now following somebody who has the knowledge about these issues. And this is where, we see that, when it comes to the issue of religion, people take it very easily. Look at the medical professional. Even in the medical profession, there are different levels. You might have a triage nurse, for example, the first line individual who decides who will come first in the priority list. So they have some knowledge about, the illness. Then let's say you have the pharmacist who knows about the medicine. Then you have the doctor who is prescribing the medicine. Sometimes maybe the pharmacist knows more about some medicines than the doctor himself. I'm not talking about all the doctors, but it could happen because that's his field. Yet the pharmacist cannot write a prescription for you. Look at that prescription as a fatwa. The pharmacist is learned in his field, yet he will not write the prescription because he's not allowed. I don't know, there might be some areas where they are, but in general, no. Because that is the domain of the doctor. And so even in the same medical professional, you have different levels. Some can do certain things, others cannot do this. And this is where when we talk about, religious, field, it's not for everyone to give fatwa. There might be a person who is very learned, a very good teacher in madrasa, very good in teaching Quran, teaching fiqh, according to the fatwa of the marja, not on his own opinions. That's where we get into problem then. And this is where you might have a very good, person, very well good in history, a very good orator can give you a motivational speech for the community, but they might not be qualified to give fatwa. So they have to know their limits, and the audience also have to understand that you go for one thing to the doctor and then you go for something else for the pharmacist. That distinction has to be kept in mind. Salawat padhne ek baar aur. Because sometimes we get into a very unusual situation. There was a lady who converted from one religion to Islam and then Shiaism. And there was a gathering of the ladies in one of the centers. She had come from out of Canada. In Toronto area, this is the problem. She might be a very good motivation for those to know, okay, what are the issues or the aspects of Shiaism which attracted her to become a Muslim and a Shia Muslim. But it doesn't mean just because somebody has come into this religion, has now knowledge of entire, Islamic, sciences. So they ended up asking her, whose taqleed do you do? She said, I do taqleed of Misam Tammar. Misam Tammar was a companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen 13 or 1400 years ago. A very prominent and loyal, Sahabi of Ali, who was killed, crucified, because he loved Ali. And because he was praising Ali even when he was crucified, they cut his tongue. And so yes, he is a very great person for us, inspiration. But he's not a marja for you, because you first of all don't have a connection with him. She was trying to say, I am following his path in praising Ali bin Abi Talib, which is true. But the question was asked about taqleed, which is a fiqhi issue. And this is where we have to realize that not only those who are sitting on the minbar or on the podium should know their own positions and their limitations, even the audience should be educated enough to ask questions according to the expertise of the speaker. Salawat padne ek baar. The second hadith that I wanted to leave as a message is where the fifth Imam says, تَفَقَّهُ وَإِلَّا فَأَنْتُمْ عَرَابٌ, emphasizing this point of go and learn, acquire knowledge, especially talking about religion. Otherwise you will become like Bedouins. Bedouins are known to be ignorant and illiterate people. In another he says, لو أوتيت بشعب من شباب الشيعة لا يتفقه في الدين لأوجعته. If I come across a youth from the Shia youths, and this is for the young people. Fifth Imam says, if I come across a youth from the Shia youths who has not studied the religion, then I will discipline him for that. I've just used a more lenient term here, discipline. So Imam is being very forceful here, that I want the shabab of Shia, the youth of the Shia, to be learned in religion. And this is where, our community, alhamdulillah, does a good job. When they are very young, they go to madrasa till about grade 9 or 10. But then once they move into high school or the later years of the high school and then college and university, we say, well, this is the time you need to focus only on your academics, so that you have a good, founding, good certificate and degree, so you can have a good future. And at that time, kind of, we don't say it, but I'm saying on a subconscious level, then religion becomes suspended. Okay, this is the time for university, focus on that. Religious issues become, secondary or suspended totally. That inshallah, when you have the degree and you come back, you will be able to go back to it. Well, this is where we have to realize when they are young, where they are going into that environment, that's where they need the parents and the community more than before. Especially when we talk about high school and college years. And of course they are, alhamdulillah, we have Saqalain, student groups who are there on a support basis of the university environment. But this is where we have to inculcate in their mind that religion cannot be suspended. Or it cannot become a secondary issue just because you are now in college and university. Yes, you have to study hard, but you cannot forget the religious part of your identity. Let me end with, when the parents take their children to colleges, if they are out of town, they prepare whatever basic needs that they have. Some of the things they have to make sure that your child, your boy or girl, is taking with himself or herself are at least 4 to 5 important, titles, which should be part of their own personal library. Number 1, a good translation of Quran. In English, for example, that of Ali Quli Qarai, which is available at the moment. A book known as A Code of Practice for Muslims in the West by Abdul Hadi al-Hakim, which deals with the issues, which we face in the Western part of the world. A book entitled as 180 Questions, Inquiries about Islam. This was written by a group of scholars under the supervision of Ayatollah Nasir Makarim Shirazi. There is another book known as A Glance at Nahj al-Balagha, which is by Shahid Murtada Mutahiri. And I'm not writing the translation of Nahj al-Balagha. This is a bulky thing and not easy reading either. But at least if you have this A Glance at Nahj al-Balagha, which is a thematic introduction to the Quran, you can read different chapters of the book, not necessarily in the same order, but at least have something that sometimes you can look at it. And the translation of the Dua book of our fifth Imam, known as As-Sayf As-Sajjadiyya. And these are also available, of course, electronically on websites like alislam.org and other websites. And so these are the things which should be there with every youth, in order to have this tafaqquh fi d-deen, so that they become learned in the matters of religion, inshallah. Salawat. بہت ہی مختصراً آخر میں امام کا یہ میسیج ہم نے پیش کیا ہے آپ لوگوں کے سامنے علم کے حوالے سے. جسٹ فیو منٹس ان اردو. امام کا جو لقب ہے باقر علوم النبیین، یعنی وہ امام جنہوں نے انبیاء کے علم اور حکمت کو جو ہے دنیا کے سامنے پیش کیا ہے. جس طرح سے ہم نے انگریزی میں کہا تھا کہ وہ تمام علوم جو خداوند عالم نے آدم سے خاتم تک دیا ہے، وہ وراثتاً ان لوگوں کو خداوند عالم کے لطف و کرم کی بنیاد پر ہر امام کو ملتا ہے. اور پانچویں امام کو یہ موقع ملا تھا کہ اس کو امت کے سامنے وہ شیئر کر سکیں. تو ان میں جو بھی فضائل ہیں انبیاء کے، جو بھی کمالات ان کے ہیں، وہ اسی علم کی بنیاد پر جو خداوند عالم نے انہیں دیا ہے. اسی بات کو ذہن میں رکھتے ہوئے امام کے ایک صحابی تھے جن کا نام تھا ابو بصیر. ابو بصیر نے امام محمد باقر سے پوچھا انتم ورثۃ رسول اللہ، کہ آپ اور آپ جو امام جو دوسرے ہیں، آپ جو ہیں رسول اللہ کے وارث ہیں. وارث مال کے اعتبار سے نہیں بات ہو رہی ہے، علم کی بات ہو رہی ہے. تو امام نے کہا ہاں، ہم سب کے سب جو ہیں ورثہ رسول اللہ ہیں. تو اس پر جو ہے ابو بصیر نے کہا کہ رسول اللہ تمام انبیاء کے وارث تھے علم کے اعتبار سے. جو کچھ خدا نے انبیاء کو دیا تھا رسول کو بھی دیا تھا، اور اس کے علاوہ جو کچھ خداوند عالم نے رسول کو دیا تھا. تو آپ اس لحاظ سے بھی وارث سے. تو امام نے کہا یقیناً. تو دین ہی آسکڈ دی فالوئنگ کوشچن کہ کیا آپ کے پاس وہ ایبیلٹی ہے جو عیسیٰ کے پاس تھی اس علم کو بنیاد پر، کہ آپ جو ہیں مثلاً لوگوں کو شفا دے سکیں جو اندھے ہیں، جن پہ جزام ہے، برس ہے، یا آپ مردے کو دوبارہ زندہ کر سکتے ہیں؟ امام نے جواب بہت ہی سمپل دیا، بلی بإذن اللہ، یقیناً ہم یہ کر سکتے ہیں اللہ کی اجازت اور خداوند عالم کے اذن سے. تو ہمیں اس میں تعجب کی بات نہیں کرنا چاہیے. اگر خداوند عالم نے یہ کرامات اور یہ معجزات کی طاقت انبیاء اور مرسلین کو دی ہے، تو وہ ائمہ جو اللہ کی طرف سے تھے. اس لیے کہ جب رسول پریڈکٹ کرتے ہیں کہ جناب جابر بن عبداللہ انصاری سے کہ تم ملو گے ہمارے اس فرزند سے جس کا نام محمد بن علی ہے، اس تک میرا سلام پہنچانا، اس کا مطلب یہ ہے کہ وہ لوگ وہ ہیں کہ جو صرف ظاہری وراثت کی بات نہیں ہے، یہ الہی وراثت کی بات ہو رہی ہے. ان کا سلیکشن بھی خداوند عالم کے منشا اور مرضی اور مشیت کے مطابق ہوتا ہے. اور اس لیے خداوند عالم نے ان کو وہ کرامات دیے ہیں. لہٰذا ہم انبیاء کے معجزات اور ائمہ کے معجزات کو سننے کے بعد یا پڑھنے کے بعد ہمیں تعجب نہیں کرنا چاہیے. اس کی بنیاد صرف علم ہے اور کچھ نہیں ہے. وہ علم جو خداوند عالم نے ان خاص بندوں کو دیا ہے. خداوند اس خلیل بار قبول فرما، ہمارے گناہوں کو بخش دے، ہماری توفیقات میں اضافہ فرما. خداوند ہمیں توفیق دے کہ صحیح معنوں میں ہم محمد آل محمد کے اس راستے پر عمل کر سکیں. جو بھی شیعہ علی ہیں خداوندہ ان کو اپنے حفظ امان میں رکھ. پوری دنیا میں مسلمان غیر مسلمان شیعہ سنی کافر مسلم جو بھی یہ کرونا وائرس کے اس بلا میں مبتلا ہوئے ہیں، خداوندہ سب کو شفا عنایت فرما، امام کے ظہور میں تعاجل فرما، انک انت السمیع العلیم۔